What? We are on Christmas break and you serve such a lousy meal? Just how poor are you? My son's wife, who came home to our house, speaks with a tone that resembles a rebellious child and complains about the food I prepared. I thought she relied on us like her own parents, but I can't take this kind of treatment anymore. My name is Jessica, and I'm 62 years old. My only son Tommy is independent, so my husband and I live peacefully together. Recently, I've been going to yoga classes and I have taken up tennis at the Hubby. I'm looking forward to going to lunch for cafes with my friends I met there, so I went out today. I'm going fishing with my buddies too. If the timing works out, I'll pick you up in the car, so give me a call. As I'm getting ready to go out, my husband speaks to me. I can come back on my own, so it's okay. Have fun fishing. It would be troublesome if something happened. Call me and I'll come to pick you up. My husband can be a bit overprotective, but he's truly kind to me. Even if I can go and come back on my own, he takes the initiative to drive me. He'll always protect me with his unwavering love. No matter what happens in the future, I spend my days peacefully, immersed in my hobbies, feeling reassured. One day, Jessica received a message from her son. I'm getting married to my girlfriend. I want to introduce her this Saturday. Are you free? Tommy is a 30-year-old salesperson at a major telecommunications company. He has been busy with his work lately and only comes home during the New Year holidays, so they haven't been in contact at all. Jessica was surprised by her son's sudden marriage announcement and hurriedly consulted with her husband. Finally, he's getting married. I've been worried that he wouldn't find a girlfriend even at 30. I definitely want to meet her. Jessica's husband was purely happy for their son's marriage, but Jessica was a little worried. Her son was similar to her husband, with a good-natured and gentle personality. However, he was sometimes too tolerant, which could be a flaw. Even when he was in elementary school, he didn't mind when his friend didn't return the only remaining pencil he had left in him. As a result, pencils and erasers were always running out, and he was always without them. That child is too easygoing. I hope she can convey what she wants to say to her girlfriend clearly. With such worries in mind, they greeted the day of the meeting. The girlfriend that Tommy brought was very tall and she was like a model with a beautiful and elegant appearance. This is Shelby. I was introduced to her by my son, and she slightly bowed her head. Her behavior was actress-like, and I couldn't help but be fascinated by her. I'm Jessica, Tommy's mother. Please come in. Even though I spoke to her, she didn't seem to react for some reason. Shelby, you're so tall and beautiful. Where did you two meet? We were set up on a group date by a coworker. She was a waitress at the restaurant, and I visited her a few times while she was working. She was really beautiful and cute as she worked hard. You really have a thing for Shelby. It reminds me of when I was infatuated with your mother when we were young. Our first meeting was lively with the three of us in the family. She seemed nervous or perhaps just being considerate and didn't try to join in our conversation. I actively spoke to her. What was so good about your son, Shelby? Nothing really. Do you prefer coffee or tea? I'll have juice, please. Her way of speaking was like that of a young child. After she left, is she always like that? She doesn't talk much, or rather, she's quiet and blunt. Yeah, she's always like that. I don't mean to be rude, but it bothered me that she didn't greet me or use honorifics. Actually, she's the child that her parents had in high school. They got married right after graduation, but they fought constantly and eventually divorced. I want to support her, who grew up in such difficult circumstances. I see. Then you have to make her happy from now on. I'll do my best to support you. I decided to warmly watch over my son and his wife's new life. But after the wedding, for some reason, my daughter-in-law started calling my phone frequently. I came to do some shopping, but I'm feeling a bit anemic and tired. Can you come pick me up? What? Are you okay? Where are you? I'm at the supermarket near the station. I'm sitting on a bench. Can you come get me? It was as if Shelby was using more disrespectful language with me than she would with her own mother, constantly asking for favors. At first, it was like being asked for help by my own daughter, and it made me happy. But now, it's become a bother, as she calls me for the smallest things. The groceries I bought at the store are too heavy for me to carry home. I accidentally made a hair salon reservation in the wrong town. Can you drive me there? It's raining too heavily for me to ride my bike home. Can you come pick me up? She calls me all the time for things like this. While I'm at yoga, I used to ask my husband to pick Shelby up, but he's also a security guard and sometimes he can't make it. Sorry, can you take a taxi today? Well, if you're paying for the taxi fare, then sure. I'm definitely being treated like a handyman. Maybe it's because of my rough upbringing, but my daughter-in-law's personality seems pretty disordered. Why did my son marry a woman like her? I wonder how long this situation will continue. While I was still pondering these questions and concerns, my son had a chance to return home alone. I asked him frankly, "Why is Shelby so selfish? She's certainly beautiful, but it must be tough to be around her with that kind of personality." In response to my question, my son became a little crestfallen and began to tell me the story of how they got married. Actually, he said that he fell head over heels for her beauty and proposed to her, but it wasn't easy. She demanded that he do whatever she wanted, and he accepted all of her demands, so she can have her way all the time. I regretted raising my son to have a weak and overly tolerant personality. After a period of no contact, my son contacted me and said that they would be returning home together for Christmas vacation. I prepared dinner, but my daughter-in-law saw the food I had made. She said, "What? Fried chicken and omelette? This isn't a children's field trip. Why don't you serve sushi or something? How poor are you to serve such a pathetic meal?" I'm sorry. I should have told Mom about your favorite food. My son is bowing his head and looking down. He's been taking advantage of his wife, and he's being too nice about it. She takes advantage of his brown-nosing attitude and says, I don't like raw fish. I prefer meat sushi like roast beef or prosciutto. Order delivery already, will you?" Just as I was about to raise my voice, my husband stood up and spoke in a trembling, angry voice. "This is the last time we'll see each other. Treat this as our last supper and eat whatever you want, even meat sushi." I've never seen my usually mild-mannered husband explode in such anger before. My son and his wife looked at him in shock. "What do you mean the last time?" "Just what I said. Your mother has been planning this day for a long time, making your favorite dishes like fried chicken, tamagoyaki, roast beef, and cake. But you insulted her cooking and treated us like poor people. From now on, we're cutting ties with you." My husband must have finally reached his limit. It seems like he's determined to cut ties with them. "What's the hold up? If you have roast beef or cake, bring them out. It's your fault for hiding them. Don't get all defensive." My wife attacks me fearlessly. If my husband has reached his limit, I'll challenge this demon wife without hesitation. "I'm sorry. Your favorite things aren't prepared. Do you have any requests?" "As I said earlier, meat sushi. The one with roast beef or prosciutto ham, also a gisho and a carpaccio." My wife orders one after another without flinching at my anger. "We're out of olive oil for a gilo, but we have red snapper and clams and all the ingredients for aquapazzo here, so I'll leave the rest to you." I efficiently take out ingredients from the refrigerator and hand the pot to my wife. "What? Are you asking me to do it?" She holds the pot frozen. It seems that my homemade dishes don't suit your taste, so let me see your skills as a housewife. I decided to delegate cooking duties. That's a good idea. He calls his mother's cooking shabby and insults her by calling her a poor person. I'm sure your cooking is delicious. My husband supports me. Well, I am just a guest here, aren't I? Ignoring Shelby's attempt to justify herself, I turned to her and barked. Enough of that! Do as you're told! She quivered at the sight of my fierce expression and quickly placed the pot on the stove. Make sure not to burn it. It starts by washing the clams and removing the stems from the cherry tomatoes. Seemingly intimidated by my stern attitude, Shelby began to chop the shellfish with a fork. Shouldn't you soak the clams in salt water to remove the sand instead of chopping them like that? My son watched my wife cook with a puzzled expression. I don't know anything about that, and seriously, you're such a mean mother-in-law making me do all of this. Feeling concerned, she threw her fork and stormed off, and we heard laughter from behind us. So, you criticize someone else's cooking and call it pathetic, but you can't even remove the sand from clams properly? And not even a word of gratitude or manners like thank you, you have no sense of decency. The voice belonged to my sister, who was visiting us during Christmas holiday. I used to be a cooking instructor a few years ago, while my sister is still a manners instructor. I was in the next room until just now, but your attitude and personality are really terrible. There are a lot of things I want to say, but first, what is that outfit? Are you here to play? This outfit? It's Korean leggings that are in fashion right now. And you think that fashionable? How can you come to your husband's family home wearing something like that? Looks like sleepwear. My sister, who had no reservations, scolded her severely for her complete lack of common sense. The way you behave, your choice of words, your clothing, everything about you is a complete mess, and yet the people of this house put up with you. If you worry about a failure like me all the time, you lose your mind. That's why I just accept it as it is. Encouraged by my sister, I also threw around rough words that I don't usually use. As they went back and forth arguing, my son and daughter-in-law started to get heated. It's because you keep complaining about mom's cooking that we're in this situation. What's your problem? If you have something to say it to us, you old hag. The problem is your attitude. Show some respect and manners. They continued to argue back and forth, but then my husband shouted at them, putting an end to their fight. If you want to argue like this, do it somewhere else. If you have something to say, come back when you've calmed down and can talk properly. I'll listen to you once, but only once. My husband glared at the two with a terrifying expression that I had never seen before. Overwhelmed by his rage, they scurried off in a hurry. A few days later, the two came to our house with solemn expressions, begging for forgiveness, saying, "Please don't diss down or about us. Your wife's behavior goes without saying, but you're just as ridiculous for putting up with it. Seeing you fawn over that wife of yours who has no common sense or manners, I'm truly appalled." My husband was still angry from the other day, and he glared at our son. I've decided, if it means being cut off from you guys, I'll get a divorce. It was a shocking statement from our son, one that we never saw coming. My daughter-in-law's eyes widened in surprise. What's wrong? You said you would protect me, didn't you? I thought so too. But then I became convinced that what my mother and aunt were saying was right. I realized that you had no common sense. Your attire, language, and personality were all terrible. What? Are you trying to make me the bad guy? Don't you care about me? I'm just tired of dealing with you like this. The son continued in a voice so low it was almost a whisper. I'm tired of going to pick you up after shopping, bringing you money when you don't have enough, and getting cold even at work if I turn off my phone. If I say no, does that mean I don't care about you? You said you would do anything I asked, but now you're angry at me. Finally, he exploded, accusing her of cheating on him. You didn't even consult me before giving my phone number to your wife. Please think about us and our situation. That's right. It's a real pain. Deal with your own wife yourself. The husband spoke coldly and decided to cut ties with his son and daughter-in-law. After cutting off contact with my son and daughter-in-law, my sister began to frequent their home. She claimed she was only there for tea, but in reality she was giving my daughter-in-law strict etiquette lessons. As a result, my daughter-in-law became haggard and eventually came to my home to apologize. I'm sorry for everything I've said and done. She presented me with an envelope containing cash for the taxi fare and a token of apology, bowing her head as she did so. No matter how much you apologize, I will not forgive you. When I coldly rejected her, she broke down in tears. My son and his wife were living apart and were about to start divorce proceedings. However, my daughter-in-law had lost contact with her own mother and had no place to go and no money to her name. Realizing the trouble her actions had caused the others, she found herself in a desperate situation, but it was too late. The stormy days with my son and his wife passed. My husband and I returned to a peaceful daily routine of enjoying our hobbies. My son was so eager to get married that he actively started dating, and in no time he found a good match. His partner is a gentle woman. He's skilled in cooking. He seems to love her because of her gentle and elegant nature and because she's good at cooking. I had regretted his shy and overly tolerant personality at times, but now I feel that our educational policy was no wrong. I'm going to yoga studio. Oh, I'm going fishing. On the way back from their respective hobbies, her husband seems to be picking her up by car. My son seems to have inherited his husband's gentle personality after all.